Hi everyone, we're Mimicker, here to introduce all kinds of knowledge, even the stuff we didn't know about. Today, we're diving into the world of professional sumo. Now, if you're not familiar, you might just see, a sport. But what we found looking into it is this incredibly complex, multi-layered, sometimes contradictory cultural thing. We're really trying to get under the surface, figure out how this activity that started, believe it or not, with lethal duels, now judges its highest rank on something as abstract as dignity hinkaku. That standard seems, well, a lot harder to pin down than just wins and losses.
Oh, absolutely. And that paradox is, I think, what makes sumo so compelling. It's really a composite cultural heritage. It blends these ancient Shinto beliefs, centuries of history, and this incredibly rigid, almost unforgiving social structure. So our goal today is to untack some of those cultural codes. We'll go from its sacred historical roots right through to the hyper-disciplined world these athletes, the rikishi, live in.
Okay, right. So where do we start? Maybe the stage itself, Dohyō. Just looks like, well, a circle of clay on a platform. Seems simple.
It does look simple, but you're right that simplicity is deceptive. It's really so much more than just a ring. Think of it as a kind of sacred space. While it's small, only 4.55 meters across, it's elevated, it's consecrated, it's a ceremonial space. The spiritual side is key here. It's meant to blend strength, skill, and also what the tradition calls formal beauty, which comes from respecting the divine.
Formal beauty. And interesting you say divine, because the actual origin story, well, it wasn't very divine, was it? More like lethal.
Exactly. The mythological start, you find it in the old texts, the Kojiki and Nihon Shoki. They describe this Chikar Kurabe, basically a strength contest, between Nomi no Sukune and Taima no Kohaya. And it wasn't a sport. It was a fight to the death. Nomi no Sukune, the winner, the one who killed the other guy, he's now considered the ancestor god of sumo. Quite the origin story.
Wow. So you jump from that sheer brutality straight into ritual. How does that work? And why wasn't winning the point anymore with Shinjizumo, divine sumo?
Well, the focus shifted. It became agricultural, primarily. A ritual to divine the harvest, see if the crops would be good, or sometimes to give thanks after a good year. There's a story about Emperor Shomu holding matches specifically as an offering after a massive bumper crop. So the purpose wasn't really about who won. It was about dedication, about asking the gods for favor, or showing gratitude.
Okay, so from divine offering, it then moves into the imperial court, Sumai no Sechi, during the Nara and Heian periods.
Right. And that lasted for about 300 years. It was still tied to harvest divination, but it also became a display of imperial power. And this is where we start seeing the seeds of the sport we know today. Rudimentary rules pop up like no kicking, no punching, and early versions of things like Mano-tu, which is challenging a referee's call, and Shikyu no Oshi, the ritual squaring off before the clash. Those started back then.
And then things shift again, right? When military power becomes central, the Kamakura period. Bukizumo, warrior sumo.
Exactly. The samurai class takes over, and suddenly sumo becomes essential combat training. A wrestler's skill was a real strategic advantage. You see figures like Minamoto no Yoritomo really promoting it. And Oda Nobunaga, apparently, held this huge tournament, like 1,500 wrestlers.
1,500.
Yeah. And the winners.
Yeah.
He kept them on as his vassals. It just shows how incredibly adaptable sumo was. It sort of morphed to fit whatever the dominant power structure needed at the time.
And that adaptation leads us eventually to the Edo period, where it becomes more like popular entertainment, kanjinzumo, fundraising sumo.
Right. It becomes commercial, running alongside things like kabuki theater.
Wow.
And that's when the dohu changes from square to the circle we see today.
And this idea of it being the national sport, the kokugi, that's actually pretty recent, isn't it?
Surprisingly recent. It's not some ancient title. It only really caught on after the main sumo hall in Tokyo, the Rengoku Hall, was named the Kokugikan in 1909. And that name came from an article by a writer advocating for it. So the whole history is this constant process of reinvention. It's like a cultural mirror reflecting Japan's changes.
Okay, so if sumo's always adapting, always sort of layering traditions.
Yeah.
Where does that happen now? That has to be the heya, the training stable, right? Entering one sounds like stepping into another reality.
It really is. The heya is the core unit of sumo life. It's this unique community where training and just daily living are completely integrated. And getting in has strict rules. You have to be male, under 23, finished compulsory education, and meet minimum height and weight standards, 167 centimeters and 67 kilograms. Pass that initial check, the Shindeshi Kensa, and then you have to go to the Sumo Kishido, the training school, for 6 months. Learn the ropes, the history, the conduct.
And once you're in that heya, life is just completely dictated by rank. The Banzuke, it sounds like your old identities get stripped away.
That's a very good way to put it. There's a sociologist, Irving Goffman, who talked about podal institutions. Places like prisons, monasteries, military barracks, and sumo stables fit that model perfectly. It's a closed world. Everything, training, food, sleep, free time, even what you wear, is centrally managed and totally controlled by rank. The whole point is to break down the civilian identity and rebuild you as a rikishi.
That sounds incredibly harsh, especially for the guys at the bottom, the trainees. The rikishi yusein.
Oh, the burden on them is immense. They live
Yeah.
in dorms, they don't get a salary, just a small allowance. And they do all the chores, they're on chankoban, cooking duty for everyone, they clean the training hall, the baths, everything, and they act as kibito.
It's a kibitito. Those are the personal attendants for the senior wrestlers, right?
Correct. Imagine being basically a servant for wrestlers, sometimes only a year or two older than you, just because they outrank you. You
Yeah.
carry their bags, run their errands, help them dress, get them drinks, all while doing your own intense training. It's designed to instill absolute obedience and humility. It's grueling.
And it's an entirely male world inside the stable, structurally. But there's a really important figure who isn't male, the stable master's wife, the Okami-san.
Ah, yes. Her role is absolutely crucial, even if it's technically unofficial in the hierarchy. Officially, she might manage the stable's books, deal with supporter groups, that kind of thing. But her unofficial role, she's the emotional core.
Yeah.
In this really tough, isolated, all-male environment, she often acts as a kind of surrogate mother, providing care, support, advice, things the strict hierarchy just can't offer. She's vital.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about building those incredible bodies. The training itself, the kaiko, seems like this mix of ritual and just raw repetition.
It's relentless. You have the fundamental exercise, the shiko, that high leg stomp. They do it hundreds of times.
Yeah.
It's partly about building immense leg and core strength, but it also has that ritual element stomping evil spirits out of the decried. Then there's suriyashi, sliding the feet low to the ground. That builds incredible stability, a low center of gravity. And teppo, thrusting hands against a wooden pillar over and over for pushing power.
But it's the diet strategy combined with that training that creates the unique sumo physique, isn't it? That massive size, but also explosive power.
It's a very specific, calculated cycle. First, hours of incredibly intense training, usually on an empty stomach. Push yourself to exhaustion. Then, immediately after, you consume a huge amount of chankonabe. That's the famous sumo hot pot, incredibly nutrient-dense, packed with protein and calories. And right after eating this massive meal, you take a long nap.
Straight to sleep.
Straight to sleep. The idea is that this cycle maximizes calorie absorption and encourages the body to store energy efficiently, building both muscle mass and the bulk needed for stability and power. It's not just about eating a lot, it's when and how you eat and rest.
So this total institution creates these amazing athletes, but it sounds like it also creates a huge problem when it's time to retire. The mage cutting ceremony must be bittersweet for many.
It is. It leads to a really serious issue, what they call the post-retirement career problem. Only a tiny, tiny fraction of wrestlers ever make it high enough, long enough, to even compete for Toshiri Michite. That's the elder stock, basically the license you need to buy. And it's incredibly expensive to become an oyakata, a stable master or coach within the Sumo Association.
So what happens to everyone else? The vast majority. They've spent maybe 10, 15, 20 years completely inside this bubble, often without much formal education beyond high school.
They really struggle. Re-entering mainstream Japanese society is incredibly difficult. The skills learned in sumo aren't easily transferable. The very system that built them up also isolated them. They lack outside networks, maybe lack different kinds of work experience. It's a significant social cost that comes with maintaining this unique tradition, a real paradox.
And that hierarchy, that isolation, it all comes back to the Banzuke, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We need to unpack that structure.
The Banzuke is everything. It's the absolute bedrock of the sumo world. It's this 10-tier pyramid, and it dictates literally every aspect of a rikishi's life. We're talking status, income, privileges, daily duties, even the kind of clothes you can wear.
And there's one massive dividing line, isn't there, between the top guys and everyone else?
A huge divide. The crucial line is between the Sekitori Lever, those are the wrestlers in the top 6 divisions, from Juriya up to Yokozuna, and the Rikishi Yusei-in, the trainees in the bottom 4 divisions, Makushita and below.
So the Sekitoris are the pros. They get paid.
Yes, they're salary professionals. The difference is stark. Even at the lowest Sekitori rank shuri, the estimated monthly salary is around 1.1 million yen. Yokozuna, maybe closer to 3 million yen per month, plus bonuses and endorsements.
And they get all the visible signs of status too, right? The fancy gear.
Exactly. They wear the beautiful kishimowashi, those ornate silk aprons for the ring entering ceremony. They get to wear their hair in the formal ichu ginkgo leaf top knot. They usually get a private room in the stable. They don't have to do chores. And they have those tukabito, the attendants we talked about.
And for the guys below that line, the yusei-in.
It's a completely different world. No salary, just a small allowance paid per tournament, maybe every 2 months. They live in shared dormitory rooms. They do all the stable chores, cooking, cleaning, serving the seniors. They can only wear the basic black cotton practice mawashi. The difference in daily life and status is just night and day.
It's like this weird mix then. A pre-modern kind of status system, but fueled by modern sports meritocracy. Because promotion and demotion are based on performance, right?
Yeah.
Kachikoshi and Makekoshi.
Precisely. You have to win more bouts than you lose in a tournament, Kachikoshi, to generally go up. And if you lose more than you win, Makekoshi, you generally go down. But it's not automatic or simple. That's why there's the saying, Banzuke wa ikimona.
The ranking list is a living thing.
Right. It means the rankings are fluid, dynamic. Just getting a winning record doesn't guarantee a specific promotion. It depends on how many spots are open above you, how well others at your rank did, who you beat. It's fiercely competitive.
And reaching the very, very top, Sheki, and the ultimate rank, Yokozuna, that takes something truly special.
Oh, absolutely. To make Sheki, generally you need a really strong, consistent record. The guideline is something like 33 wins over 3 consecutive tournaments, while ranked in the Sanyaku ranks just below it, Sekiwake or Komusubi. It requires sustained excellence. But Yokozuna, that's another level entirely. You typically need to win 2 consecutive tournaments as in a Sheki. But that's not all. You also have to be judged worthy by the Yokozuna Deliberation Council. And they don't just look at wins. They assess your hinkaku.
There's that word again. Dignity.
Yeah.
Character.
Yes. They evaluate your perceived character, your grace, your behavior on and off the Dohyō. It's a blend of athletic dominance and, well, embodying the ideals of the sport. It's a very high and somewhat subjective bar.
Wow. And even the physical ranking sheet itself, the Banzuke High, reflects this hierarchy visually, doesn't it?
It's an amazing piece of calligraphy and tradition in itself. It's published before each tournament. Agoji, one of the referees, handwrites the whole thing. They use this unique, thick, bold style of calligraphy called sumoji. The characters are packed densely onto the page, which is meant to symbolize manon on rei, a wish for a full house, for sellout crowds.
You can literally see the hierarchy in the writing.
Clearly. The names of the Yokozuna are written largest at the top. As you go down the ranks, the characters get progressively smaller and smaller. It's a visual map of the entire power structure.
And there's that little bit of text at the very top center. Mubu Gomen. By your gracious leave.
Yeah, that's a fascinating historical leftover. It's a direct remnant from the Edo period, back when sumo promoters needed official permission from the shogunate government to hold public tournaments for profit. So the Banzuke sheet itself carries that history. It really sums up that duality we talked about, this modern meritocratic competition operating within a framework of centuries-old status and tradition.
Okay, so this whole intricate system, this hierarchy, it all plays out during the Hanbasho, right? The 6 official tournaments each year.
That's the main stage, 6 times a year, every odd-numbered month. January, May, and September are in Tokyo, at the Ryogoku Kokugikan. Then there are the regional tournaments, the Chishu Basho, March in Osaka, July in Nagoya, and November in Fukuoka. Each one lasts for 15 consecutive days.
In between those big tournaments, they do tours. Junki?
Right. Those are exhibition tours that travel all over Japan. They're less about intense competition and ranking implications and more about promoting sumo, connecting with fans in different regions, kind of like a traveling festival. Fan service is a big part of Jungyu.
But the Hanbasho itself, a day at the tournament sounds like a carefully staged drama, building throughout the day.
It really is. The whole day has a distinct rhythm, a structure designed to build anticipation. It starts early in the morning, maybe 8:30 a.m., with the sound of the yosei daiko, the welcoming drums, played from the tower, the agura outside the stadium. Then the lowest-ranked wrestlers, from Jonakuchi up through Makushita, have their matches. Often the stands are pretty empty then. It slowly builds.
Things start picking up in the afternoon, though. when the secatoris arrive.
Yeah, around 2:00 p.m. or so, you start seeing the jury wrestlers arrive. They have their ring-entering ceremony, the Dohyō. The atmosphere starts to shift, the crowds get bigger.
And the real peak, the main event part of the day, is later, around 4:00 p.m.
Exactly. That's when the spectacle really begins. First, you get the Makuchi Dohyō. All the top division wrestlers, except the Yokozuna, enter wearing those stunning silk heshimawashi. It's incredibly colorful. And then, immediately following that, the most solemn and important ritual, the Yokozuna Dohyō. The grand champion enters, flanked by two attendants, the Takimochi carrying a sword, and the Tsuyu Harai, the dew sweeper. It's a very powerful moment.
And all of that builds up to the final bouts of the day.
Right. The top-ranked wrestlers have their matches, culminating in the Musubi no Ichiban, the final main event bout of the day, usually featuring the highest-ranked wrestlers competing. And after that last match, the day concludes with one more ritual. The Yumitori Shiki, the bow-twirling ceremony. It's performed by a designated wrestler, usually from the Makushita division, as a symbolic offering of thanks and victory.
So the whole day is this flow, mixing the sacred ritual with the excitement of the sport, and obviously the commercial side of it being a big event.
Precisely. It blends ritualism and commercialism seamlessly. The goal is to create this heightened atmosphere, a festival feeling. The Japanese word heya captures it well, a special, out-of-the-ordinary celebratory time. It's masterful, really.
Okay, so we've covered a lot here. We've gone from sumo's pretty brutal origins through its ritualistic and courtly phases into the modern era. We've looked inside the heya, that intense, all-encompassing training world, and explored the sheer power of the Banzuke, that rigid hierarchy.
And I think the main thing to grasp is that sumo isn't just about physical strength or technique. Its survival, its resilience, comes from this amazing historical capacity to adapt. It's constantly shifted its purpose to fit the times, while somehow holding on to this core of really strict ancient tradition.
Which leads us with a really interesting question, something for you, the listener, to maybe think about. How does a system like this, so traditional, so hierarchical, frankly so isolating in many ways, continue to not just survive, but actually thrive in our modern globalized world? It's quite a contradiction. To wrap up, this episode will be split into two parts. In the next episode, we'll dive into the 82 official Rite, the winning techniques in sumo, and introduce the behind-the-scenes professionals who support each tournament, such as the gyuji, referees, yobidashi, announcers and handymen, and tokoyama, sumo hairdressers. We'll also share fascinating trivia and take a closer look at the challenges and future of sumo in the face of modern change. If you're interested, be sure not to miss it. Thanks for tuning into this episode. If you enjoyed our content, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and turn on the notification bell.